Hi, it's Nancy at Sipping and Painting Hampden, and we're going to paint this beautiful painting called Mount Fuji, and it's really a beauty. And the only paint colors you're going to need are red, blue, tiny bit of yellow, just the tiniest amount, black and white, and that's it. So real easy. All right. So if you're ready, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cover my canvas with a large brush and just plain old water. And the reason I'm doing that is that Denver is a very dry place, as you know. And this way the paint won't stick, it'll slide nicely on our canvas. Just adds a little humidity to make things easier to paint. So just adding a little quick cover of water. Yeah. And this painting is, I love this painting, it's beautiful, but it's also pretty easy. So all we're gonna do to get started, well, let me just make sure that you have 3 different size brushes. I have a small, a medium, and a large. And then, so small, medium, and large, it doesn't matter too much what shape, as long as you have small, medium, and large, okay? And I have my water. I have some napkins. I have my paints. I have my 16 by 20 canvas. You could paint on anything you like. It could be another size canvas, it could be a piece of wood, could be paper, the kind of paper that you paint on, that canvas paper, could be anything. And so we're just gonna go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick up white paint on my brush. I'm gonna put it on one side, and then coming in from the side of my pile of blue, I'm going to put blue paint on one side, blue paint on one side, white paint on the other. And then I'm going to go back and forth across the sky. And because I put different at each side, I'm going to get these nice streaks. I want my sky to be streaky. And I can put a little bit more blue on the very top. That'll be nice because skies tend to be darker, more blue as they go up. So I am going to pick up some more blue and just put more blue on the top. And I'm just going to keep my strokes really long all the way across. I want those white and blue streaks to come through, but I don't want it to be choppy. I don't want to do this. I don't want a choppy sky. I want a peaceful spring sky in Japan with this Mount Fuji painting. Okay. So I'm also going to use my brush to paint the sides as I go and also the top. And that's called a gallery wrap. When you paint the top and the sides and the bottom, then you get a nice, completely covered painting, and you don't need to get a frame. So that'll save you some money. Frames are expensive. All right, so if my canvas starts to show through and look a little chalky, what that probably means is that it's very dry outside. There's no humidity, and my paints are drying really, really fast. They're just drying super quickly. So I can always pick up a little bit more water as I go and moisten, add a little humidity to the canvas and to my paints. You can stir in a little water to your paints as well. So I'm just gonna go back and forth between the white and the blue, and I'm gonna make a streaky but straight across lines in my painting. Super easy. Your blue may be slightly different than mine. It really doesn't make any difference which blue you use. Any blue will look beautiful. So my canvas is so dry, I have to do this back and forth thing and then smooth it out, because to really get it in those nooks and crannies. I'm going to see, my blue looks a little different color. That's a primary blue. You could use primary blue, phthalo blue, it doesn't really matter. It's going to be gorgeous. So just keep going back and forth with your blue and your white, and you want it to be horizontal lines and soft streaks. And basically a light blue background, okay? In the center area of my canvas, I want it to be more white, okay? It's going to be more white. And I want it to be darker on the top. So I can go back and forth and add a little bit more blue at the top and a little more white in the center. And the reason for that is I want to put in a blue line down here that will show us that that's water. The reflections are in water. So I don't want it to look uniform, blue and white, across the whole painting. I want the top to be a little darker and the center area to be a little lighter. Boy, it must be really dry outside because my canvas is just soaking up this paint. So a little whiter and lighter in the center portion. And again, keep going on the sides and make sure that those are covered as well. I'm going to keep doing the same thing all the way down. And in fact, I want it to be even streakier. I want definite white areas and definite blue areas, because I want it to look a little different down below than the sky. This is my water. So I want some definite white stripes and I want some definite blue stripes, because when I paint my reflections in those, it's going to be really pretty. It's going to be obviously water. So I'm just going back and forth. One time I'll pick up white, the next time I'll pick up blue. I'm not making them perfect stripes. I don't want it to look like a striped shirt or a bed mattress, but I do want it to look like there's some definite blue areas, some definite white areas. And add water as you need it to your paint, or a couple drops on your canvas where you haven't painted yet. That's fine too. We want to avoid streaks, so it's nice to just stir that paint, those drops of water in when you need them. So you can see my stripes look a little different in the water portion than they do in the sky. In the sky, I blended it in more, but down here in the water, I want more definite stripes or lines, because I just want the water to look different from the sky. So it's a little streakier down below, but it's still those long motions all the way across your canvas. Nice. All right, I'm going to let you finish that up. I'm going to give you a few minutes. I paint fast, so I know you'll probably need a little bit more time. So I'm just going to step away and let you paint while I might let mine dry a bit. Oh, by the way, if you do have any sections of your canvas where you can see the weave of your canvas, you can always go over it with just a tiny bit of watered down paint and just try to fill in those little weavy parts. I don't know what else to call them. They're like a checkerboard. It's the texture of the canvas. If you can see the texture of the canvas, just go back over it with some thinner paint and smooth it in. Nice. All right. Just covering any little texture marks in my canvas with just a little more paint. I'm going to walk away and let you do this for a few minutes, and I'm going to let this dry. I always recommend stepping away from your painting about 10 feet away and looking at it from across the room at multiple points while you're painting, because then you can see things that you can't see up close. And what I saw from when I stepped away is that I want the center area to be a little lighter, because I'm going to be putting my mountain over it, and I really want that mountain to pop. So the center area, it's still going to be blue and white streaks, but I want it to be a little lighter so that I can just really let that blue mountain pop. So I'm just going to try to blend in a little bit more white in this center area. And then bring it up and just let it fade away. Don't pick up any more paint, but just let it fade away into the sky. And like I said, I would not have seen that had I not stepped away and looked at it from 10 feet away. All right, I'm going to go get some more white paint because I used quite a bit already. Just going to make sure I have enough. So I'll give you a few more minutes. Awesome, awesome. So I'm going to take my medium brush and I'm going to take my blue paint and I'm going to apply the paint onto my brush. And you know what, I'm noticing that my paint is drying really fast. I'm going to put a couple more drops of water in my paint. Then I'm going to stir that around. So if yours what I want the paint to be the viscosity. There's an automotive word, right? Grew up in Detroit, so we talk like that. But I want the thickness of the paint to be like motor oil, okay? Not like Vaseline, or like Hershey's syrup and not like vanilla pudding, okay? So just thin it out a little bit if it starts to get thick. Now, when you're painting a landscape, you want to be careful not to make your horizon line exactly in the center. And the reason for that is that your, what am I trying to say? Your eye won't know which way to look if you divide it right in the center. So I'm going to make the top half slightly bigger than the bottom half. So you can see that this one is a little larger this way than it is this way. And that's what I want to duplicate. I want my horizon line to be a little lower than the center. So I'm just going to take the side of my medium brush and I'm painting a line across the middle. That's going to be my horizon line. I just noticed that mine's a little lower than the one in the painting, but that's okay. It doesn't really make any difference. It's totally your call. If you don't like where you put your horizon line, watch what we can do. I just pick up my paint, my big brush, pick up some more white paint, and I can just go right over it again. So if you don't like where that horizon line was, you can always move it. No problem, no problem. All right, so I'm going to move mine just a little bit higher than that, but really it's not a big deal. It doesn't really matter. And it doesn't have to be perfectly straight, but just try. Do it the old college try. I don't know where that expression came from, but yeah. All right. So there's my horizon line, and it's about half an inch thick probably, but I just went over it a few times to make sure it was solid. And then I'm going to, I want to show you this with I'm just going to show you with my baby brush and my white brush, because I don't, and my white paint, because I don't want you to try it until you see it, okay? We're going to make the top of Mount Fuji like a smiley face, okay? And then it's going to come down from the sides. But I'm going to do that in blue. But I wanted you to see it because I think, I don't really know, I've never been there, but I think it's probably a volcano. Does anyone know? If it's not, it sure looks like one. So
looks like one.
Geography was not my forte.
Pretty sure it's an inactive volcano. Yes.
okay, cool. All right. So then I'm going to just go over that with my blue brush, but I want to make sure you saw it. I'm just going to go over that outline with blue on with my medium brush, and then I'm going to fill it in. I'm going to fill in my mountain with the blue, and the white is just mixing in there, which is just fine. It's just making all the white there is just blending right in, and that's fine. We're going to be putting white on the top anyway, but I'm just putting in my blue. I actually want this to be a slightly lighter shade of blue than I'm going to use for my island. So I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of white on my brush while this is still wet, and I'm going to mix it in. But you can also mix it in on your plate. Just know that this mountain part needs to be slightly lighter than when we put in a hill here, okay? So from now on, I'm going to mix it in a little bit of a separate pile on my plate.
I mean, in the picture, it looks darker than the sky, so I'm like.
It is darker than the sky for sure. Here it is. Okay. So yep. This is lighter, this is medium, and this is darkest.
Got it.
So I don't want it to be full on blue, But here's the thing, if you did full on blue and you like it, leave it. Because later when I do the hill, I can always just add a little black paint to my blue, and then I'll have a darker shade. You can always darken or lighten with just a hint, a smidgen of blue, of black or white. But you have to be careful. It's real easy to overdo it, with, especially with the black. So if you put on full on blue, that's fine. We can just put a little drop of black in our blue later for the hill. No problem, no problem. I have one of those.
This is dark blue.
I have one of these halo lights shining on me so that it lights up the painting better. And man, is it hot. I can't believe how hot these things are.
I can see that.
Halo lights? I think that's what they're called, the ring lights. So we're just gonna fill it in and smooth it out. And it doesn't really matter too much how the brush strokes are. This would be kind of nice to have the brush strokes go down the mountain like they really, would. But it doesn't really matter a lot. A lot of it's going to be taken up by our snow that we're going to put on the top. And then the real showstopper is going to be the blossoms we put on the side. No one's even going to notice the strokes in the mountain. Nice.
Oh.
So I looked it up, and Mount Fuji has been an inactive volcano since 1707.
Wow, long time. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just a big crater now.
Yeah. All right, so it's okay if you're still filling in your mountain. I'll just tell you the next step, and if you're not there, that's okay. You can just listen. I'm going to take some of that white and some of my blue, and I'm going to make a shade that's a little lighter than my mountain, okay? I didn't take all my blue and all my white. I just mix in little piles each time I need it. And I want it to be a little lighter than my mountain. And I'll tell you why. This part is we're going to make a reflection of the mountain that needs to be a mirror image in the water. So I just touched it in my water and I can't see it, so I'm going to add a little more blue. I'll demonstrate, and then when you're ready, you can get here. Okay, so I'm going to put that upside down smiley face in. Maybe I should do it first in white just so you can see it. And then I'm going to pull up, mimicking what's up above, but this time going up, okay? And then when I put in the reflection of this, I'm gonna, sorry, gotta get the right paint color. When I do the reflection, I'm gonna do it a lot with a lot less paint and lighter. And then I want these ripples in it because the reflection is rippling in the water. It's not a solid thing. And so the way you paint that is less of everything. It's less solid and less paint overall. Anytime you have a reflection of something, it's going to be lighter and more diffuse, more loose than the actual object. So first I drew it on with my white paint, and then I'm just kind of pulling across these streaks in the water of a blue that's lighter than what I already have. Now I'm going to have to be careful, and where I drew that line in the water, I'm going to have to go over those so that you can't see that line. And I'll just go slow and carefully and cover up that line, because nobody really drew a line in the ocean, right? That would be kind of weird. So the edge is looser and choppier and not defined as well. They're just, the reflection just kind of rippling in the water and moving with the water. I hope that makes sense. Everything about it is lighter. And any water lines that you have, just make sure that they're straight. They're going straight across, because water seeks its own level, and from a distance, even choppy water looks straight. And we're going to paint those water lines on there later, so don't worry about those. The lines that go through the water. We're just getting the general outline of the image in there for now. We're not going to need a lot more blue, but we are going to need a little bit more blue for that hill. So you need to get more blue, just a little more. In fact, I'm going to go get a little more blue.
This one? Wow. So would you bring it the water line? Is that the deal? So you would move and make it straight.
Don't worry about the sound. I can mute you if I need to, okay?
Okay.
All right, so I am going to go ahead and put that hill on. I'm going into my straight on blue. I'm going to try that first. Be sure you clean your brush first. You could even put a tiny drop of black in that blue to just make it nice and dark. But don't overdo it. We don't want it to be black. We just want this to be monochromatic, mostly shades of blue and white. So if you do add a tiny bit of black, don't overdo it, okay? All right. I'm gonna make a hill over here. I did add a little black, you can see. And it's got a couple of curves. And then I'm gonna come down into my horizon line and pull it across. And then on this side, there's just the tiniest hill. Just enough to suggest there's land. And then I'm just gonna go right over it and fill it in. And don't forget to bring it over to the side where your gallery wrap is, side of your canvas, and connect it. But then don't pick up any more paint, and don't clean your brush either, because now that I have that paint left on my brush, but it's mostly gone, that might be the perfect amount for a reflection. Just don't pick up any more paint, okay? Now I have to make a mirror image in the water of what I just did. So just go slow and carefully and think of it. This shape kind of reminds me of a guitar. You can kind of see that. And then pull it across. When you get to the other side, mirror image of what's above. And then just pull it across and don't pick up any more paint. Just use what's left on your brush so that that reflection is lighter and less solid. But since I have a solid line down here, I'm going to have to just smudge it out a bit. That's it. That's an art word, smudge. Just kind of tap it out a little bit. Like I said, nobody went and drew a line in the ocean, so I can't have a hard line there. I just have to blur it out a little bit with careful stroke motions. Cool. Whatever you do to the top, you have to do to the bottom, but lighter and less paint. And then when you're done with that, give your medium brush a good wash. I go in the hot tub and relax a bit. And I always wash a really long time when I wash my brushes because they tend to hold on to that paint. Dab it on your napkin and see what you got. And if it's not mostly clear, then wash it again. You can see how the up above, that's cleaner than down below. It's always good to start with clean brushes. Now I noticed my hill reflection is fatter in the water and my mountain is about even. So the reflection should be similar, right? So there's a couple of different things I could do to fix that. But I could make this horizon line a little fatter. And we'll call that a cove over there. Like a little indentation. I've never been to Mount Fuji, so, and I don't think anyone who comes to my house and looks at it on the wall is going to say, oh, that doesn't measure exactly the same as it measured when I saw it. No, they're just going to recognize your beautiful mountain and say, oh, I've been there. I love that picture. I'm not gonna, what happens is if we stand and stare at our paintings for too long, then we get picky. And I'm gonna not look at it anymore because no one's gonna measure it exactly. But I'm gonna make sure my brushes are good and clean. And reflections don't have to be perfect. Don't worry if they're not perfect. Just make sure, just check your work and make sure that whatever is below the surface of the water, or below the horizon line rather, make sure it's lighter, that it's not as solid and as dark as what's above. If it's basically sort of kind of the same shape. If you got all that going on, you're doing fantastic. Now we're not going to put any water lines in this painting until I put on the snow. So don't worry about any water lines, not important. But I am going to take my baby brush and I'm going to put it in white paint and I'm going to start to build the snow. But what I want you to notice in this painting, do you see on the right side, the snow is white. And on the left side, it's more pink. Now, I don't know if this artist meant to do it that way, or she just grabbed a little more pink on her brush, but I'll show you. You see on this side, it's a little more white, this side it's a little more pink. Now what could be is when there's light shining at the height of the day, sometimes things take on a pink glow. And so let's just go with that. This is slightly more pink on this side and slightly more white on this side. But since it's over blue, some of that blue comes through and becomes the shadow side. And this becomes the highlight side. Kind of cool. When I paint with, I teach Bob Ross classes here. When I paint Bob Ross, I always have a slightly, I have two off-whites, one that has a tiny bit of blue in it and one that has a tiny bit of pink in it. And I always paint them that way so you know where the sun's coming from. So I'm going to paint, I have my baby brush, and I'm going to start up here at the top of the volcano. We've already established it's a volcano. And then we're going to just pull down snowy areas. And it has to be fat. When I'm pulling it down, it has to be fatter at the top than at the bottom, because actually that doesn't make sense. Just pull it down. What I'm trying to say is fatter at the bottom than at the top, because you have a more narrow area at the top. That makes more sense, right? Okay. And then, but don't make these all the same length or width. Keep them, you know, because these are like areas where the snow hasn't melted and there's twists and turns and caves and who knows what in there. So you want to leave it choppy and uneven. It's not like you're getting your bangs cut. So don't overdo it. And then when I do the other side, I'm just going to add, okay, this is how much red paint to put in it. Pretend a ladybug walked through red paint on 1 foot. That's how much paint I want you to have. That's my baby brush. It's about a 20th of the size of a ladybug. That's how little you need to make this look pink. So I'm just going to mix that in with a little bit of my white, but I don't want it to be so obviously pink that people go, why is that pink? And then I'm going to put it on. And I'm just pulling from that original line at the top. And you can add a little bit more pink if you look at it and go, oh, it's not pink enough. But I just want you to, I don't want it to look like a Pepto-Bismol mountain, okay? Just do it. Usually if I say what a ladybug walked through, people end up doing a ladybug, and that's okay. But if I say do a ladybug, then they come up with a June bug or a pinto bean or a Japanese beetle. That'd be appropriate, right? But just go easy on it, on the pink. Go really easy on it. I don't want anyone to notice that it's pink. I just want them to see how pretty it is. And then just kind of work it in so that you don't know exactly where it starts and stops. The pink, I mean. Cool. This kind of reminds me of a collar on a jester. The snow caps on the mountain. And I have to resist the urge of making them all the same length. I tend to want to do that, and if I do it, I got to go back and fix it and make them not the same length. So I want it to look natural. Always start at the top and come down, because that's how they really go. They start at the top and then they a little avalanche down. Or drip down and then freeze. And make sure they're not straight across and all the same length and width. All right, now remember what I did before with the blue. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm not going to pick up any more paint. I'm going to use only the paint that's left on my brush after I did that. Because if I picked up more paint, it would be too much. And I'm going to really lightly, with a much lighter touch, I'm going to do the same thing down below, but I'm going to put on a lot less paint. And a much lighter touch, because I don't, and you know, you don't have to go, oh, this one's longer here. No one's going to measure it. But just go light, okay? Go super light. And then make it look like it does on top, but lighter. And, you know, if the canvas shows through, great. That's fine. Absolutely. We don't want it to look exactly like the top. We want it to be a lighter, more diffuse, blurry, that's a good word, blurry version of what's up above. A much blurrier version. Just go real easy on the paint down there. Just kind of smoothing mine out with water so I don't add more paint. Real easy, real easy. Just make sure whatever you do down below is a much lighter version of what's above. Oh, I noticed that I must have splashed. Silly me. I think I'm already overdoing it. I gotta get out of there. All right. I overdid it. Yep, I did. Easy to do. If you ended up putting on your bottom too dark, add a little bit of blue paint to water. Just a little tiny bit. And then you can always go back in and you can little blue paint, little water, and we can kind of, you know, create some water lines over it and break it up a bit. That'll help. This is only if you overdid it like I did. Yeah, I want it nice and diffuse. I don't want it to be too obvious what's down there. It's funny, in the original, she put a lot more pink in the bottom. I'm not quite sure why she did that. just have a little bit of that maybe really broken up. Maybe that'll be good. We had a school group in here one time, and they were actually raising money to go to Mount Fuji, which is cool. And yeah, so they painted this painting, and they were thrilled with it. And then I think because, I don't remember with the pandemic, I don't think they went. All right, I'll give you time on that, but just know that whatever's on here is the blurrier than what's above. And if you overdo it, then, you know, just flick on some blue lines here and there and some right through it, and that'll break it up a bit. Let's pick up some white. Smooth that out a bit. Sometimes when you paint, you do a little, and then you say, oh, I'm not sure I like that, and then you undo a little, and then you paint white over it, let it dry, and then you do it again. And that's okay, that's the whole process of painting. That doesn't mean mistake, that just means that's how people paint. As you probably know, Bob Ross called those happy accidents. Just, it's all part of the process. So far, so good. I'm getting really excited about those blossoms. All right, I'm going to show you the next step, but if you're not done yet, don't worry, okay? I know you're smart and you can remember the next step when you'll hear it, and then you'll get to it. But no worries, don't panic. All right, so I'm going to put my baby brush in the white paint, and I'm going to find my horizon line, and I'm going to start with a water line just under my horizon line. Now these don't have to be perfect. Notice how that's not perfect. I don't want it perfect. I don't want a perfect straight line across. What this is it's the light bouncing off the waves way back there. Okay? So it's not a single line, it's not perfect. And then with my baby brush, and you can chisel, here's a way, if you have it for your detail brushes, your baby brushes, just chisel your paint on the side like that, side of your plate, and that'll sharpen. I'm twisting and turning my brush as I do it, and that sharpens the bristles so that you get a finer line. And I'm going to go through and just create some lines in my water. They're not perfect, don't worry, there's nothing perfect. I'm going to pull them from side to side, don't put them all in the middle. Have some coming from the right, pull it across, some from the left, pull it across, maybe some overlapping in the center. These are just, and I want the really fine lines. Make sure you're using your baby brush. Really fine lines, because these are the waves. And from a distance, they look really tiny. When you get up close, they look huge, but when you're looking across an ocean, they look tiny. So just pull those lines, and I'm barely putting any pressure, almost no pressure. And just pulling them across and letting them end wherever they end. I'm not worried about that. They don't have to go all the way across. The key is don't start and stop them all in the same place. You just want them to look natural and random. And then I always overdo everything. That's my style. So I'm gonna step away when I'm gonna get this last one down here, but I'm gonna step away when I think I have enough, because I would coat this whole thing with white lines, because I paint with abundance. So just let it go. Ooh, that's pretty. I put a tiny, tiny, tiny streak of pink on that side. That's kind of pretty. Teeny tiny, very light. More on that right. Just a little scribble in the water. So don't worry, I got time here. I'm not going to rush you. You're just getting to the water lines? No problem, no problem. I just noticed, and I'll just tell you this, and whenever you get to it, you can, or you can opt out of it. But I just noticed in this painting, there are a little bit of strokes just coming down below this snow. So if your brush has this tiniest amount of white on it still because you haven't washed it well enough, then you can just kind of use that dirty white water just a little bit and just pull down a little bit more of they're just like stroke marks. But I have to be careful that I don't create drip marks. So dab like I just did, dab your brush on your napkin first. You can barely see it. I'll hold it up to the camera so you can see what I'm talking about. It's so subtle, but it's pretty unimportant, to be honest with you. Do you see right here, there's just a few little stroke marks? I don't even know if you can see it. It's so subtle. You don't even have to do that. I wouldn't even worry, to be honest with you. I can barely see them. So they're just like little dirty water stroke marks kind of coming down from those. And literally, I don't want you to use white paint. It's just kind of a smudge. And I guess what that is that's just so you can see some stroke marks below those. snow piles. It's so faint, it's pretty much almost not even worth doing, but if you are sitting there waiting for me to go on, then, and you have a brush that you didn't wash 100%, it might have 1/10 of the white that you used in the water, and you can do this. Just creating just slight brush marks in this direction. You can kind of scribble them on too. But it's so light, and there's literally no paint. It's practically a dry brush technique. It's just that if your brush isn't 100% clean from that white, that's how much it is. It's so little. And I'm being really picky, so maybe I should move on, huh? So I don't get all picky on you. I tend to do that sometimes. I can smudge it out with my finger too. I guess you could have done that with a lighter shade of blue. But really, I'm just being picky and you don't even need these. Kind of like shoots or something. All right, I'm going to stop obsessing over this. And we're going to move on because the most fun part are these blossoms. And we are pretty much there. Oh, you know what? I need a little bit more. I'm looking at mine. I need a little bit more water line in through here. Yeah, just because. All right. So this is how we make our blossoms. We have to make brown. This is brown, okay? But it's a dark brown, so it's hard to tell. So to make dark brown, you basically need all three primary colors. So I'm going to put red, I'm going to put yellow, and I'm going to put blue. And I'm going to stir them around and see if I can get a dark brown. Now, because blue is a really, really powerful color, and I chose a dark blue for my painting, phthalo blue is pretty dark. This is looking really dark, and that's fine. That's fine. But if your blue is not that pigmented, maybe use a cobalt or a ultramarine blue, or who knows. Everyone's is going to just look a little bit different. That's my point. So I just want to keep going until mixing those three colors until I get brown. Now, if you forget how to make brown, you can remember, one way is to remember all the primary colors, red, blue, and yellow. And you mix them together and you get brown. If you put more blue, you tend to get black, a really dark brown. If you forget that, if you can't remember that, then I think of Christmas brown. And what that means is green and yellow, green and red together. All right, so now I've got a brown. All right, so I've got a brown, and I've got my baby brush, okay? These are delicate branches, so I'm using a baby brush. And I'll start on the left side so you can see. I'm gonna start high. In fact, I'm gonna start on the side of my branch. I'm going to apply more pressure as I come down. I am not worried about things being wiggly. And I'm twisting my brush as I come down. And the reason I'm doing that is it gives me a bumpy, gnarly branch. And I love bumpy, gnarly branches because they look a lot more natural, all right? And then make sure when you're pulling off branches, twist your brush. And then start at different points on the branch. We don't want Y's, okay? Start in the branch and then come out, okay? That's this one. Start in the branch and then pull out and twist your brush. Start in the branch and twist your brush as you go. And it will get finer and finer as you do that. So the main branch that comes out the tree has to be fatter than these baby branches. And if you made a baby branch fatter, then you're going to have to fatten up your main branch. You just do. All right. Do not pull in from the sky and come in. And if you already did, then you'll know what I mean. That means, that's how you make a cactus. So always start in the branch. Always start in the big branch and then out through the secondary branch, and then pull out more for each subsequent little branch you want. Because you're depositing paint on the inside. You don't want to deposit paint, too much paint out in the sky. Like I said, you'll get a cactus, and cactuses, I don't know, they're just not as cool in a place where cactuses don't belong. So I'm going to start up here, and I'm going to pull this one. Same way I'm wiggling and turning as I go, because I don't want it to be too straight. You'll see once we get the blossoms on there that too straight is not as good as wiggly. Okay? Twist. When you're applying your paint on your brush, pull it and twist it, and then you can use the side to knock off any clumps. Okay? And this baby needs some more branches. And pull the branches up from different places on the branch, you know, that it's coming from. Then I'm going to do another big old branch over here. Notice how all of these branches, you didn't notice it before, I'm going to say this, but all these branches are pointing to the mountaintop. It's almost like they got paid to do it. Over here, look over here at this pretty peak. Just go slow, because when you go slow, you're less likely to make a big old mistake, okay? So just go slow, go really slow, take your time. Just always start in the big branch and pull out from the big branch, okay? Don't start in the sky, that's important. The branches over here, I'm gonna put one really big one over there. This has a lot, this has several, but I'm just going to put one big one coming down from this corner. That's a big fella. And it has to be, because there's only one, so he's got to make a statement. Or she. It helps to go and just so it doesn't look like fingers, I got to remember to have some of them, little babies coming off. Always start in the main trunk or branch, whatever the main thing is that you are working from, and pull out into the sky, not from the sky and down. Cool. The branches look hideous, they're ugly. You know why? Because they need some pretty blossoms. I bet that's how it looks in the dead of winter, which isn't too bad. But you know what? The exciting part of this painting are those blossoms. And I'm super stoked about them. I guess it's not that hideous. It's just, given that all I can think about are how pretty those blossoms are going to be, anything else just won't do it for me. So, as you're looking at your branches, just make sure that the main limb that it's on is fatter than what's coming out of it. If what's coming out of them, this main limb, are wider, then you got to go make your main limb wider. It's basically the same as your arm is widest at the shoulder So widest one is close to the tree, and then it gets narrower toward the wrist, and then it comes out in fingers, just like branches, right? And so your fingers aren't fatter than your wrist. So you have to make sure that everything that comes out from something else, every time it branches out, it gets smaller. Just a reminder, don't start in the sky and come back to your trunk or your main limb, because that's how you get a cactus. You want these ends to be getting thinner as they come out and pointier. Now, I always recommend walking away 10 feet from your painting. Before we go into the blossoms, I want you to take a look at your painting the way other people are going to see it on your wall, okay? So what I mean by that is that, yeah, just walk 10 feet away and take a look at it. And then look at the proportions. Make sure your branches are, you know, the way we talked about, okay? And make sure that, you know, you can look at your hill and go, oh, am I happy with that hill? You know, or I just want you to look and see what you've got so far, because we're going to put in the blossoms and they're going to take quite a while. So I want to be sure that you're looking at this before we start putting all the blossoms on, and you're happy with what you've got so far. And if you're not, a couple things, if it's a small thing, you can fix it, right? You can always let something dry and go over it. No problem. This video is going to be on YouTube tomorrow. So not to worry, you can always come back in and fix it. No worries. The other thing is, just remember, no one's going to put their nose in your painting and look at it. It's not going to be hanging on the wall and someone's going to look at it from as close as you're painting it right now. You're fussing, you're thinking about all the details on it, and you might be feeling kind of fussy with it. No one's going to walk in your house, walk up to your painting, put their nose in it, and then judge it. And if they are, you need some new friends, man. All right, just kidding. But just be easy on yourself. Be good to yourself. Oops. That's what I get from painting from a mile away over here. Let's put a fleck on my painting. All right, even if you're not ready, I'm going to go ahead and give you the next step so that when you're ready, you can start. Because this step takes a long time, but it's the coolest part of this painting. So make sure your brushes are clean in your water. I like to clean them out now because I'm going to be taking my brushes out of the water and using them a lot. I'm going to use the stick. I'm going to use them upside down. So I want to make sure they're nice and clean so the paint doesn't dry on my brushes and ruin them. So I wash my brushes pretty good, dab them off good, because now I'm going to stick to the stick. Okay, and what I mean by that is I'm going to poke my paint in the stick of my big brush, and I'm going to put blossoms like that. I'm going to do a whole lot of white. Do a ton of white. It's going to look like snow, and that's okay. And have some extend from the base. When they stop looking like circles, you got to poke back in. But you can get quite a few pokes from one pop in the white. Okay. Pop them on outside and beyond the branches, and then some over it. Because there are going to be branches that are just too small for you to see. They're branches off of branches, and we're like if this is, the trunk is here, and this is a limb, then these are twigs, right? And so the twigs just get tinier and tinier as you go out. And so just know that there's some that are probably in there that you won't be able to see. They're going to be under the branches. So make these white blossoms, and we're going to use 3 colors. We're going to use white, we're going to use red, and we're going to use pink. But my first step is white. It doesn't really matter which way you go. You could start with red and then do pink. It doesn't really matter. But what does matter is that you don't, okay, this is what, I'll show you what not to do. I've seen people in other classes do this. Put them on right on the stem like it's a growth. And then it looks like an octopus. So I don't want you to do that. Put them out on either side of the branch. No octopus tentacles, okay? Either side of the branch, randomly. Don't put them in a row. They're not dominoes. Just put them randomly. And I'm going to put these around every single branch. And I want some big, some small. So like I said, you know, the first coat can be kind of big. And then as you go, it's going to get smaller. So I'm going to do that all over this entire painting around each branch. And I might have some random ones out here because remember, I can't see every branch. Some of them are so little, I just can't see them. Okay? And if your brown is dry, you can put them on top of the brown too. You don't want to completely avoid the brown because of course some would be sticking out. But if it's wet, just kind of avoid that area. All right? And maybe there's a little cluster here because there's a branch that I can't see going that way. Just don't make an octopus, okay? Octopus tentacles. Don't line it up. Don't line it right on top of the trunk or the branch, I mean. All right, I'm going to do this. This is going to take a long time. And it's just peaceful and zen-like, so just take your time and relax and enjoy it. When I have all of my branches surrounded with random, the key is random, okay, white dots, and then some white dots over top, overlapping. When I've got them all done, I'm going to switch, and then I'm going to do red. Now, if you do the red right after the white, and your white is still wet, you'll automatically get some pink because they're just going to blend. And that's cool. Just so, you can go in any order you want, just so long as you have white and red and pink. And let them dance and play and be friends. They all get along well in the sandbox. All 3 colors. So just let them play. And this takes a while. That's why I was careful to clean my brushes first because they will dry out in the amount of time you are just popping on dots. I know, I've done it. I'm getting very excited about this painting. Oh, right about now, it's time for a drink of wine. I think when I'm finished with this, I'm going to go home, and we were fortunate. Just before all the pandemic started, we bought a hot tub, and it had been on my bucket list my whole life, and we finally did it. And I don't know how I would have survived the pandemic happy without being able to soak in a hot tub. And if it's on your bucket list too, I hope you get one in the not too distant future, because man, that was the best purchase I ever made. That's the kind of stuff you can do when your kids are finally grown. Very tedious process, but very beautiful when it's done. If I were doing this at home right now, my cat would be jumping up on me. So I'm kind of glad I'm here at the studio. You can't really do this fast. If you do it fast, then your dots aren't dots. It's forcing you to relax. It's forcing you. Oh, cool. Make sure your dots are random, okay? Don't put them in a line. And make sure you put some over your trunk. Limbs, rather, not trunk. We can't see the trunk. You can just see the big limbs on this tree. All right. When you have lots and lots of white dots, then go ahead and switch to one of the other colors, either pink or red, your call. And we're just going to put them on randomly if they overlap with each other. Awesome. I'm going to switch to one of my other brushes. I've been using my large brush for that, for those white dots. I'm going to switch to another size, just because I can. Why not? This time I'm going to my red. And where they touch the white, they'll make pink, and that'll be awesome. My medium brush does not hold as much paint, so after a bunch of this, I might end up switching back to my large brush, because it was easy. But you do you. You do the one that you feel comfortable using. I notice if I come in from the side with my brush, I don't get a circle, so I gotta come in and even spin it around a bit to get a real circle. So remember, we're doing 3 layers. We're doing red and white and pink. And this is my second layer. And if you guys are cool with it, I think I'm going to actually move right in front of the camera so I can get a better angle when I'm putting on these dots. And you're going to just see the top of my head probably. Sorry about that. But there's not a lot of action going on down here anyway, just in the trees. I have seen people who are impatient with this technique just take a regular brush and put on different shapes, whatever your brush happens to create by just dabbing. I prefer the circles. I think it looks more like cherry blossoms, these circles. It's tedious. But if this is annoying to you and you want to come in with another brush, let me see. I use my actual baby brush. You can come in and do your dots with the baby brush. The problem is you're not going to get circles. With a baby brush, with a detail brush, or with you know, a round brush, you're still going to have to make circles. You're still going to have to manually twist your brush. So you can use the bristles if you want, or you can use the stick. It's your call. But either way, you're still going to have to go in and paint a little circle. So you do it however you want. I might go back to my big brush because this is pretty tedious. And with my big brush, I was getting dots quite a bit faster. Yeah. It just has a bigger stick. But at this point, it's kind of personal preference, to be honest with you. Oops. I'm using my big brush, but I'm still using the stick part of it. And if you don't get perfect circles, that's okay. That's okay. If you have a bunch of circles, that's good though. It doesn't have to be perfect circles by any stretch. When you think you have enough red, or when your arm is tired and you're really sick of this, then go ahead and switch to the pink and put the last color on. Whatever your last color would be. Got a big blob right there. I'm sorry, I don't want to let it dry and some pink on it, I think. When you paint, you'll realize that you have a style, a painting style. and your painting is not going to look like someone else's style. You could copy the exact same painting with the exact same paints, the exact same brushes, and follow the instructions completely, and you're going to have a totally different painting than someone else. Mine looks totally different than Alexis's. She was the one that did the original. Part of that is the blue was slightly different. She might have used a phthalo blue a ultramarine blue, and I used a phthalo blue, but that doesn't matter. No one's ever going to see the original. But the reason I'm bringing this up is everyone has a style. And even if I did use the exact paints and the exact brushes and the exact technique, and I did exactly as close to what someone told me to, I'm still going to have a painting that has my style. And that's awesome. That's what you want. You want your style to come through. So don't expect it to look like the person next to you if you're painting with someone. And don't expect it to look like mine. Don't expect it to look like Alexis's original, because we each have our own style. And that's the beauty of painting, is learning what is my style. Now, the more I paint, the more I realize my style is abundance. I like to do everything more. My mountains are bigger. My trees have more leaves. You know, that's kind of who I am and what I do. But you're going to have a different style. You're going to do something totally different. And that's okay. That's what we want. We want each person to paint in their style. Because if everybody had the same style, going to an art museum would be very boring. It's really cool to see everyone's unique style. So embrace whatever style is coming out of your brushes and your canvas right now. It's coming out of your brain. Embrace it, because that's the beauty right there. That's the beauty. Whatever you've got going on when you paint, that's what we want to see. I'm switching to my pink. I just mixed in my white right in with my red. And I'm just going to put on a whole lot of pink now. A whole lot of pink. I noticed my dots are bigger than Alexis's, and my trees are more spread out. She has a very delicate style, and that's her trademark. My trademark is big and bold, like go bold or go home, and that's my trademark. Everyone's going to have a different style, and that's not a problem. That's awesome. So it's fun to paint a lot, and then watch and see what is my style. Figure it out. Oh, someone is smoking right outside of my window. You can see as I'm putting my paint on, if I give it a little twist, it comes off a little more easily. This painting was actually a photo of Mount Fuji, and then I just kind of cut out, sorry, one second. I photoshopped some tourists out of it or something. And then I was like, oh, wow, that's a good view. And blew it up a bit. And then gave Alexis the photo to paint. I would love to go see the cherry blossoms in Japan. That sounds really exciting to me. I grew up in Michigan, and in Michigan, there's a place called Traverse City, which is up north in Michigan. And they have a cherry blossom festival about the second week of July every year. Actually, I think it's over the 4th of July, come to think of it. But they have thousands of cherry trees there as well. It's the cherry blossom, the cherry capital of the United States, really. I know DC has a lot as well, and people travel from miles to go see them in DC. But Traverse City, Michigan has all things cherry. In July, they make cherry syrup, cherry candy, cherry pie, cherry soda, cherry, you name it. They have cherry everything. All right, I don't know how you're doing, but I'm getting a little tired of painting cherry blossoms, although they are beautiful. And if you are still with me, awesome. And if you are getting ready to tune out because you've had enough of this, then I just want to thank you so much for coming and painting with me today. I really appreciate it. We have classes every day at Hampden. We used to have them in person every single day. Now, because of the pandemic, we have them most days, but not every day. And we do have a lot of Zoom classes. We also have some of those Zoom classes on YouTube, as you know, for posterity. So come and paint with us again. We sell paint kits for our classes. And so you can come into the studio between 3 and 6. Check our calendar, actually, because it might change. But I'm here for a few hours every day, and I'll sell you a paint kit. And the paint kit basically has all of the supplies you'll need inside to paint our lovely paintings that we do on our Zoom classes. So those kits are $15, and we have people come in here and buy a whole bunch at once, and then they get all their friends together, and they have paint parties in their backyard, which is the responsible thing to do during the pandemic. So yeah, if you want to do that, buy some paint kits. You don't have to get your own paints or anything. You just come in and buy a kit. They're $15 per person. So if you're going to have a little paint party or whatever, keep me in mind. Come in and pick up a paint kit. All right, I'm going to call that done. And then I'm just going to sign my name in the bottom corner down here. You can sign your name wherever you want. I'm going to use my baby brush. I don't actually sign my whole name. I just sign my initials. That seems enough for me. And that's it. Voila. This is my interpretation of Mount Fuji. Like I said, it's a little brighter, a little bolder than Alexis is. But I had fun painting it. And I want to thank you so much for coming to paint with me on Zoom and or YouTube. Wherever you're painting with me from. And I hope to see you in the studio sometime when you feel comfortable doing that. We're going to be here, and we have very small classes right now. We also sell face masks. Let me tell you about those. We are selling these tie-dyed face masks that they're artist tie-dyed. They're different colors, they're Monet-inspired colors. And these are $7 each or 3 for $15. And we have these during retail hours in addition to the paint kits. If you were to go on Etsy, those masks are probably about $15 for one, and you get 3. They're 3-ply cotton. They have ear loops, and yeah, all right. Anyway, I'm going to let you finish up. I'm going to keep the light on this and just let you go for a little while, but don't hesitate to stick around and keep painting. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for painting with me. I'm very grateful, and we'll see you again. Ciao.